What's going on, guys? Today I'm out here in Richmond, Virginia shooting a music video for my homie Redhead, and I'm going to be using the Zhiyun Crane 3 labs for this music video. Now within this video I want to show you guys what it's like to actually use this gimbal for music videos. I'm going to talk about the setup, the actual use of the gimbal, and we'll go back to the office later on in this video and talk about what I thought about the footage, a couple things that I like and don't like about the gimbal, and just give you all my overall impressions on the gimbal. Also within this video I'm going to be giving away a Zhiyun Smooth 4, so make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video to learn how you guys can get that in the giveaway. So let's get into it, man. Let's get the setup and get shooting. Alright, so right now we're setting up the gimbal. I'm going to be using the Sony a7 III with the Sigma 24mm f1.4. Now right off the bat, one thing that I absolutely love about this gimbal is the fact that the axes lock. So when I'm out walking, nothing's like slinging around. Like you can see that the axes are locked, and then when it's time for me to actually go in and balance the gimbal, I can unlock them, individually unlock them as well, which is really dope. So when I'm just adjusting the balancing for the pan axis, I don't have to worry about the tilt and all the and the roll axis as well. So that's something that I absolutely love about the gimbal off the bat. Alright, so as you can see, I'm adjusting the tilt axis on the gimbal right now, and one thing that I don't have to worry about is the actual roll axis tipping over while I'm doing it. So that's something that I like about this a lot. So I just have to worry about one axis at a time when I'm going in and doing the balancing for this. I'm going to be using the small HD focus on the gimbal. Usually when I'm using these portable kind of gimbals, I don't really like to fully kit it out with a monitor, but I figure since it's in a professional setting, doing my music video production, I'll try it out to see if I like it or not, and it'll give me a little bit more vision while I'm actually using the gimbal. So I'm using the small HD focus. So right here on the side of this gimbal, it has like two quarter 20 threads, and I just have a little arm right here from small rig to mount the monitor out to the side and give me some more vision while I'm actually filming. Alright, so now we're about to dive into the first shot of Redhead. I'm gonna shoot the performance right here on this corner. I like this corner because it's symmetrical. We're at the angle. Kind of like on the edge, and it's just, I don't know, it's just dope. It's tight. So we're gonna be filming like a revolving shot with the gimbal, kind of like a left, a semicircle, and then we'll probably do some close-up shots as well. So that's what we're doing. So one thing that I haven't got used to yet while using this is the monitor. This is kind of like weird to me because it's like the gimbal's pretty much at my eyesight, but the way I got my monitor kind of mounted is kind of low. So it's really like weird for me to look down at the monitor while I'm shooting when this is already eye level. So I'm trying to get used to that. Maybe I need like a longer arm to kind of bring it up, but it's kind of conflicting to an extent because you guys can see right here, the way I have it, if I put it too high, then this will eventually hit it if I go that far that way. So I'm just trying to get used to this. This is kind of weird to me. Alright, so we're at the next location for the shoot. We got this really cool like alleyway. We got the beamer in the shot, and these shots that I'm going to be doing right now, I just want to come in and out on red. I'm going to be using the autofocus on the Sony a7 III, so hopefully it holds up. I'm going to be going in and out, and then I'll probably do some revolving shots close up as well on the Zhiyun Crane 3 lab. Let's get it. so we're here for this last and final shot for this running gun shoot for Redhead, and we're in front of a market. And a couple things that I really like about this market, it's very rustic and grungy, like the doors and all the locks and stuff, but it's also a really cool sign up here that I want to shoot right here with down low angle of red. So with these shots right here, I'm thinking we'll do some pushing shots again on the gimbal as well. But on the angle shot of the sign, I'll probably do like a semicircle revolving shot. It is now a couple weeks later at this point. I'm back in the office. I've had a chance to look at the footage and actually edit the video down. Sadly enough, I don't believe that this music video will be out by the time that this is out, but I'll make sure to display the sample footage from using the gimbal within this video, obviously. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about my overall experience using this gimbal for this music video, the things that I liked about it, the things that I didn't like about it, and who do I think this gimbal's for, should you buy it, and all that stuff. And we'll also talk about the giveaway of the Smooth 4 at the end of this video. So let's get into it. So for starters, my overall experience using this gimbal was pretty similar to using any other gimbal out there on the market. It isn't too different, like when you jump from gimbal to gimbal. For me, I feel like the things that I do tend to like more about other gimbals is just how stable the footage is, obviously, but how the applications on the gimbal work is something that is very huge for me. I like to tweak my gimbal to have it exactly how I like to use the gimbal. So if the application isn't that great, that's something that could deter me from wanting to use the gimbal. But like I said, a lot of the times using these gimbals is fairly the same. Like, you're not gonna get perfect footage using any gimbal. So it's gonna be some micro jitters, some bumps, some jumps, all that type of stuff that comes with using pretty much any other gimbal out there on the market. So using this one was pretty standard. It wasn't too much different from it. All right, now let's get into the things that I liked about using this gimbal. Now, one thing that's so small, and I kind of touched on it at the beginning of this video, that I absolutely love about using this gimbal, and it's not even really with using this gimbal, but the way that the axes, is it axes? Is it axis? Is it axes? I don't know. The way that the axes lock when you're transporting the gimbal. And this goes beyond transporting it. You can also use this feature when you're balancing the gimbal as well, but the way that the axis lock is huge for me. One thing that I absolutely hate about using pretty much any other gimbal out there is when it's time to move the gimbal, you kind of got to take the camera off of it, because at that point it just moves around and it just bumps up against itself, and it just doesn't feel safe to travel with the gimbal that way. But with this one, you can literally lock every axis on it and it's not gonna move. It's not gonna be any bumps of like metal clinking up against it. It's just there, and that's one thing that's so huge with this gimbal. Now, aside from transportation, when balancing the gimbal, the fact that you can lock the axes is huge as well, because you can focus on getting one axis perfect when balancing the gimbal, and you don't have to worry about the other two. So for me, that's huge. It's something so small, and I feel like every other gimbal out there should be implementing this into their next one, for sure, 100%. Another thing that I really like about this gimbal is getting down low angles. Now, with this gimbal, with this weird design on it, the way that the handle kind of comes out of the back of the gimbal, it makes it so getting down low angles with these gimbals is so much easier and such a better experience. One thing that I never really liked about single-handed gimbals was the down low angle. Getting into that underslung mode was just a hassle. I just never really liked it. It kind of forced you to like lean your back over, and like viewing it was just weird. Like, this combats that like all the way. Another thing that's really small and I like about this gimbal is the LCD screen on the back of it. It makes it really easy for you to know which mode you're using at that particular time. You don't have to guess. You don't have to do the tap twice to go into follow mode or hold. Like, you can literally see on this LCD screen which mode you're in, and I feel like that's something that's so small that adds a lot to this gimbal. Aside from the occasional motor jitters that you get in pretty much every other gimbal, I feel like the footage using this was fairly stable, and it could definitely compete with some of the other top gimbals out there. Now let's talk about the things that I don't really like about this gimbal, and the first one being the application. I've never really been a fan of the Zhiyun applications for the gimbals. They're okay. This one has a bunch of different motion controls if you're planning on using your smartphone as your monitor for the gimbal, but for me, I don't really use it, so I can't really touch on the reliability and how good these features are for the application, but just simple things that don't really work how they're supposed to work. So for me, I like to tweak the gimbal to have it exactly how I like to use it. I need the deadband to be at a certain speed. I need the pan and the tilt to be at a certain speed. And for me, one thing that I was noticing that I constantly noticed with using this gimbal was when it was time for me to adjust these settings, I would set the parameter to a certain number. Then I would go back in to look at the number that I set the parameters to, and they just reset. So and another thing that I kind of realized that I hated while using this gimbal, and it's kind of just reassured the way that I tend to use like single-handed gimbals, is I hated using a monitor on this. It just didn't really make sense to me, and it just added to the clunkiness of this system. For me, the majority of the shots that I get tend to be at eye level on these sorts of gimbals because the camera placement is just higher. It's just a lot different than me using my Ronin M. Like with my Ronin M, the camera's placement is a lot lower because you have the handlebars up top and then the camera just sits lower. But for these, the majority of the shots are just like mid to like kind of like eye level shots, just because that's just how they align. So for me, the way I have my monitor set up, it was just kind of like right here in my face. So I kind of had to get the gimbal further away from my core to actually look at this monitor, which in turn made it more heavy and I feel like less stable when I could have just used it how I usually use it, like close to my core, and actually the monitor is already eye level with me. So I feel like I don't even really need an external monitor. So that's just something I realized. I hated using a monitor on this sort of gimbal. Overall though, really dope gimbal. My experience using it was pretty similar to using a lot of other gimbals out there. And I like the fact that Zhiyun is pushing the culture forward with this design, and they've definitely made getting down low angles on these sorts of gimbals a lot easier. I definitely recommend this gimbal to anybody out there who wants to use it on heavier systems. The people out there who are using mirrorless or DSLR cams with heavier full frame lenses, this is definitely a good gimbal to go for. Can't really think of too many things wrong with it other than what I stated in this video. Now let's get into how you guys can win a Zhiyun Smooth 4. Really simple ways to enter. It's going to be a link down in the description. Click that. It's going to take you to Gleam, which is going to allow you guys a few different options and ways to enter yourself to win. The more things that you do, the more opportunities that you have to win. It's going to give you more points, and the winner is going to be randomly generated via system and contacted via email to let them know that they won. Pretty much it. Simple as that. The winner will be chosen, I believe, April 14th. I don't know. Just click that link. It'll tell you everything about it. I think it's like 28 days out. Enter yourself to win a Zhiyun Smooth 4 smartphone gimbal. Really dope gimbal, man. And I'll also leave a link to the gimbal so you guys can check it out. The specifications, what it can do, what it can't do, and all that good stuff. If you guys have any other questions about the Zhiyun Crane 3 Lab, make sure to drop those down in the comments. I'll get back to those as soon as possible. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop it a like. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I'm gonna check you guys out in my next video, man. Peace.